Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Program is Focal Point. Let's see if we can grab a quick call. Hoping to get a guest on, but let's grab a call from Connie in Southeast Missouri. Connie, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Thank you very much, and thanks for taking my call. I would like to ask you if you have any idea as to why our Christian brothers and sisters do not feel that they should be involved in the calamities that we are facing in our country today.
Now, what do you mean by...
I also wanted to say that, we might not be able to impeach Obama, but we sure can impeach these stupid judges that come up with their own ideas on what it should be instead of what it is.
Yeah. Well, and and I want to go back just for clarification, Connie, and be sure I understand what you're saying. I wasn't sure what your point is about Christians being involved in the calamities. Help me understand what your point was there.
They can make phone calls. The area code in Washington, D.C. is 202, and that covers it all.
Uh-huh.
They can make calls to their senators, their representatives.
Okay,
so their dislike.
Yeah, so you're encouraging us to go ahead and contact our representatives, get hold of them, and make our voices heard. Is that the bottom line there?
That's right. That's the reason they're where they are.
Yeah, very good. All right, well, thank you, Connie. I appreciate that. In fact, we've got a action alert that we are preparing to encourage you to weigh in, do exactly what Connie's talking about, to weigh in with members of the House of Representatives on the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, ENDA, which is coming up, and that would give special legal protections to people who engage in homosexual behavior and cross-dressing in the workplace. You couldn't take their sexual conduct as non-normative as it might be into account. You couldn't take the way they dress into account in your decisions to hire and fire. If you did, every Christian businessman in America could face a potentially business-ending lawsuit. It would be the end of the First Amendment as far as it comes to Christian businessmen. So we are going to send an action alert out encouraging you to call your representative, because that's where this thing is going. By the end of this week, it'll be over on the side of the House of Representatives who want to fight it over there. And just one comment, our last caller into the last segment talking about what might happen after President Obama is done being president, what he might think about doing. We had some callers that think that maybe there is a possibility of martial law. I'm not sure that I see that. I could be surprised. I guess nothing would surprise me anymore that people would do. But it seems to me that more what he's trying to do with the military, for instance, we talked yesterday about this purge of the military and all of the officers with history, experience, and in my mind, masculine strength. It seems to me he's trying to purge them from military leadership so he gets a compliant military so he doesn't have to worry about the military standing up against him. And, maybe he'd have a military that would be in position to go out and do things he ordered them to do that would be contrary to the Constitution. But I don't think I see him going quite that far. That might even be a bridge too far for the current president. All right, we got a special guest I want to welcome to our decision maker line, Jonathan Graves. Jonathan is a pro-life activist, and he's leader of Students for Life, the Mississippi chapter. Jonathan, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Yes, sir. Good to be here.
Great to have you with us. And Jonathan, first of all, tell us a little bit about Students for Life. Some of our listeners may be hearing about this organization for the first time. What is Students for Life all about?
Well, Students for Life is an amazing campus ministry here in the United States. There's over 700 chapters on high schools and college campuses throughout the U.S. Here in Mississippi, we have 7 chapters. And essentially, we seek to get students on the college campus or on the high school campus really involved in the pro-life movement.
So you've got 700 of these chapters across the country. I'm thinking about the Muslim Student Association. They're on all sorts of college campuses all across the country. And now here's a organization probably not a lot of people know about, but 700 campuses, Students for Life, is active to promote the cause of the sanctity of life. Now, what are some of the things that you do on these campuses to promote among students, high school students, college students? What do you do to promote sanctity of life?
Yes, sir. Well, we hold weekly meetings, and we talk about different pro-life issues, whether it be legislation, ways to get involved in the local community, what's going on in the local Center for Pregnancy Choices. We tailgate at every home football game. We watch pro-life movies and talk about different scientific facts about development of life in the womb. We are right now helping gather signatures for the personhood petition here in Mississippi to defend the unborn legally. We send out lots of emails and texts and post flyers all over campus and do a lot of message promotion to our fellow students to inform them about what's currently going on in the pro-life movement. And we try and get students to go out and pray at the last abortion clinic in Mississippi, which is the Jack's Women's Health Organization.
Now, Jonathan, let me ask you this, and Jonathan's exactly right. There's only one functioning abortion clinic in the state of Mississippi. It's actually functioning illegally. If it weren't for an activist judiciary, that place would have been shut down well over a year ago. It's only operating because a judge tyrannically prohibited the state from shutting it down in accordance with the law. So Jonathan and his team and other like-minded pro-lifers out there praying. Every day there are people down there praying in front of that clinic that God will shut that place down. But let me ask you this, Jonathan. What kind of reaction do you get when you go on high school campuses and college campuses? What reaction do pro-life students get when they present a sanctity of life message to other students?
Yes, sir. Well, the majority of my work is here at Mississippi College, which is a Christian university, and the number one response that we get from students is apathy and complacency. It's so difficult to get students to get involved. You know, they're often wrapped up in so many other things on campus. They're fun and exciting, but when you talk about an extremely important issue, the pro-life movement, so often the students just seem to pass by and to be apathetic about that.
Now, tell us how people can get more information about Students for Life. Then I've got one last question I want to ask you. Where can people get more information about what you guys do?
The national website, Students for Life, they can look it up on the web, and there's lots of information there that they can find out.
Now, let me ask you one last question, Jonathan. You're very active, Students for Life. This is to get students at the high school level, college level, on board with the sanctity of life, and not just kind of in agreement with the idea, but active in some way to support and protect the life of the unborn. And, you know, one of the things I say at the end of every program, Jonathan, talking here with Jonathan Graves of Mississippi Students for Life, is that we are fighting a winnable war. And we've seen, for instance, in the state of Texas, the Circuit Court of Appeals there, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, I believe it is, upheld a pro-life statute there that resulted in the closing of 12 abortion clinics on Friday. So last Friday, 12 abortion clinics in the state of Texas shut down. About a third of all the ones that operate closed their doors because of this new law that was enacted. You know, it's one of the examples of us fighting a winnable war when it comes to the sanctity of life. But also, I believe we're winning the war for the hearts and souls and minds of the American people on the sanctity of life issue. And here's the last question for you. You know, I've read surveys and polling data that indicate that this generation of millennials is more pro-life than the generation that came before them, the generation represented by their parents. Is that what you see?
Yes, sir. I do believe that is true. With just the scientific facts we have today and how we can see such amazing development inside the womb, and as we're just talking to students on campuses, it seems to me that this generation is going to be a pro-life generation. I believe this generation is going to take the pro-life movement to the next level.
Our guest has been Jonathan Graves, and Jonathan, really appreciate what you are doing, especially your work on trying to educate young students. I sympathize with you about the apathy. We find that generally on almost every issue. It just seems like Christians have yet to really get the picture, a lot of them, how urgent the issues are that are facing this country. But I appreciate very much your work in trying to awaken and educate. God bless you as you pursue that cause. The ministry is Students for Life. You can look up their national website simply by Googling Students for Life. Jonathan, thank you for taking time to be with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you. You know, and Jonathan saying, look, you know, his personal observation verifies that this generation of students is more pro-life than the generation that came before them. You know, and we're so accustomed to thinking of this moral slide as something that's inevitable. You can't stop it. You can't reverse it. You can't turn it. Once you get past some kind of tipping point, it's gone. The whole culture is gone. Everybody in the culture is gone. But now we're finding from Jonathan Graves, Students for Life, as well as from a lot of surveys, that no, the younger generation, we're winning their hearts and minds on the cause of abortion, on the sanctity of human life, that they're more pro-life than the generation that preceded them. So, you know, it's encouraging no matter what the issue is, whether it's protecting the sanctity of marriage or protecting the sanctity of life. It's way, way too soon to give up. Rob, let's grab clip number 3. This is Rafael Cruz. He is the father of Ted Cruz. And you can see as you listen to this soundbite, or if you're watching on TV or video streaming at afr.net, you'll be able to see him. But Rafael Cruz, the father of Ted Cruz, and you listen to this impassioned word of Rafael Cruz, you understand that the acorn has not fallen far from the tree. Let's listen.
We have to stop being politically correct. We have to stop acquiescing even to the wording that the liberals use. Just think about it. They talk about, in the issue of life, they say pro-life or pro-choice. That's not the right word. It is pro-life or pro-death. It is pro-life or pro-murder. And so, it's just like calling homosexuals gays. Gay means happy. You know, it's just to try to dilute it so that it becomes socially acceptable. And if you say anything against homosexual marriage or anything, oh, you're not tolerant. So we're supposed to prostitute our principles on behalf of tolerance. Well, I'll tell you what, there are absolutes. There are absolutes. Start being biblically correct instead of politically correct.
That's a great way to put it. And that's a good marching order for all of us for today. Let's start being biblically correct instead of politically correct. You know, and I think about Ken Cuccinelli, and I mean, there are a lot of factors that went into his loss. You know, for instance, you've got 1.2 voters for every one person who is either on food stamps or works for the government in Virginia. Now think about that for a minute. For every person that's on food stamps or draws a paycheck from the government, there are 1.2 voters. Who are those voters? If you're a voter and you're on food stamps, you're a voter and you work for the federal government, what is your inclination going to be? You're going to vote for the big government guy. You're going to vote for the guy that believes the government ought to be bigger and that more people ought to be entirely dependent on the government for food stamps. That's who you're going to vote for. And despite all that, Cuccinelli only lost by 2.5 points. Back in 2.